Let's talk about something that on the surface seems simple. It's overlooked, dismissed, and often skipped in the chaos of life. But it's the starting point of every high functioning day, every centered decision, and every empowered moment. I'm talking about your mornings. And not just waking up, but mastering your mornings, owning them, designing them in a way that puts you back in the driver's seat before the world has a chance to grab the wheel. You see, how a woman starts her day reflects how she sees herself. If the first thing you do when you wake up is react, reach for your phone, scroll through chaos, check messages, plug into everybody else's demands, then your life becomes one long reaction. You are already behind, already responding, already fragmented before your feet even touch the floor. That's not just bad time management, that's psychological surrender. We underestimate how vulnerable the mind is in those first minutes of the day. The brain is still transitioning from theta to alpha waves, a state where it is highly impressionable. Whatever you feed it during that window programs your emotional tone for hours, sometimes the whole day. If that input is stress, comparison, or noise, your mind begins the day in defense mode. And when you're on defense, you are not building. You're just surviving. Now contrast that with a woman who wakes up with intention. She opens her eyes and checks in with herself first. Not the world. She breathes. She reflects. Maybe she prays, meditates, journals, or simply sips her tea in silence. She doesn't reach for chaos. She creates stillness. That stillness is not passive. It is preparation. It is a kind of sharpening. She is loading her mental, emotional, and spiritual tools before she steps into the battle of the day. Mastering your morning is not about rigid structure or forcing yourself into some productivity boot camp. It's about creating a rhythm that centers your power, something that signals to your brain, I am in control. I own my choices. I will not be dragged by the noise of the world today. And when you begin your day with that energy, it ripples outward. Your conversations change, your posture changes, even your tolerance for nonsense changes. There's a psychological principle at work here, what cognitive scientists call priming. When you prime your brain with calm, clarity, and intention at the start of the day, you're more likely to interpret and respond to challenges with resilience. You're not just reacting from habit, you're choosing from awareness. That's how growth happens, not from random acts of willpower, but from consistent positioning of the mind. Let's be honest, the world doesn't care about your peace. It will throw emails, headlines, problems, and people at you all day long. If you don't establish yourself first thing in the morning, you will always be operating from someone else's agenda. A mastered morning is your protest against the noise. It's your way of saying, I will not be owned by the urgency of others. I will begin with me. Think about it from a philosophical lens too. Every morning is a resurrection, a symbolic rebirth. You were unconscious, at rest, vulnerable, and now you return to life. What will you do with that return? Are you waking up as the same exhausted, distracted version of yourself, or are you using the new day to become a more deliberate version? That's a choice. It's not automatic. It takes awareness, and that awareness starts with habit. The most powerful women I've met, whether they're in boardrooms, classrooms, or their own living rooms, all share one thing in common: they have rituals. Not routines they follow out of obligation, but rituals they protect because they understand the why behind them. Whether it's 10 minutes of journaling, a walk in nature, or reading something nourishing, those acts aren't just good habits. They're declarations. They're daily reminders. My peace is non-negotiable. My mind is mine first. And don't let business fool you. This isn't about having extra time. It's about intention. Even 5 mindful minutes can reset your entire nervous system if used wisely. Because it's not about the length. It's about the ownership. A mastered morning doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. Your presence. Not the world's. Not the algorithms. Yours. So I want to challenge you. What would your life look like if every single morning the first voice you listened to was your own? If your energy wasn't pulled but gathered? If instead of reaching for validation, You reach for grounding. That's not just discipline, that's identity. That's a woman who knows she leads her life, not just survives it. Because here's the truth, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And the morning is your system, it is your launch pad. If it's shaky, everything else wobbles. But if it's solid, even the stormiest day can't shake you. So, start before the world starts. Anchor yourself before anything else lays a claim on you. Protect your mornings like sacred ground, because they are. They're where you meet yourself before the day asks you to be everything else for everyone else. Master your morning, master your mind, and you begin to master your life. Let's be honest, your peace is under constant attack, not just from the loud, obvious things like conflict or stress, but from the quiet, daily drip of noise that fills your mental space without permission. And if you're not intentional about guarding that space, you'll wake up one day and realize that your thoughts aren't even your own anymore. They've been shaped, stolen, rewritten by everything and everyone else. Media, opinions, pressure, performance. That is why protecting your mental space isn't optional. It's survival. Psychological, emotional, and even spiritual survival. Every day you are in conversation, not just with people, but with your environment, your phone, your calendar, your memories. Your brain is processing 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and most of them, repetitive, unconscious, auto-piloted by what you expose yourself to. That's why the habit of guarding your mental space is a non-negotiable. It's not about cutting yourself off from the world. It's about filtering the world before it shapes your reality. You see, women especially are conditioned to absorb. We're raised to listen, to be polite, to be emotionally available, to accommodate, to care. And while that can be beautiful, it becomes dangerous when it turns into a lack of boundaries. When you become so open, so unfiltered, that anything, any opinion, any vibe, any negativity can walk in and settle down in your head without your consent. That's not kindness. That's psychological exposure. Think of your mental space like your home. Would you leave your front door wide open and let anyone walk in, rearrange your furniture, insult you, or track dirt across the floor? Of course not. But how often do you let people do exactly that in your mind? How often do you replay criticism? How often do you absorb negativity from your social feed? How often do you entertain the thoughts that question your worth, your direction, your enoughness? The most successful, grounded women I've worked with have one thing in common. They are fiercely protective of what gets access to their thoughts. Not because they're arrogant, but because they know their mind is a sacred place. And what you allow into that space doesn't just shape your day, it shapes your beliefs, your choices, your life. There's a psychological term for this cognitive load. It refers to the total amount of mental effort being used in your working memory. When your brain is overloaded with input, notifications, arguments, expectations, comparisons, it becomes less capable of deep thinking, of clarity, of decision making. And the scariest part, you don't even notice it happening, you just feel tired, uninspired, anxious, confused. And you start to question yourself when in reality, it's not you that's broken. It's the clutter in your head that's clogging the signal. So what does it look like to guard your mental space daily? It means starting with awareness, paying attention to the content you consume, who you follow, what you scroll, what conversations you entertain. Are they fueling your growth or feeding your insecurity? Are they calling you to purpose or distracting you from it? That one simple filter can clear out more mental junk than you'd think. It also means knowing when to be silent. Silence is not empty. It's not awkward. It's one of the most powerful tools for recentering. When the noise around you gets loud, retreat inward, journal, meditate, walk, get off the grid, even for 10 minutes. Because those moments of intentional disconnection are how you reconnect with yourself. And when you reconnect with yourself, you remember what matters. You remember who you are. Another daily discipline, guarding your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself matters. Your brain believes what you repeat. So if you constantly tell yourself, I'm behind, I'm not enough. I always mess things up. Those thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs become patterns. And those patterns, they start running your life. So interrupt them, replace them, speak truth to yourself on purpose, not toxic positivity, but grounded, fierce affirmations that remind your brain of the woman you're becoming, not the one fear is trying to keep you as. You also need to be selective with people. Not everyone deserves full access to your thoughts. And this isn't about cutting people off left and right. It's about discerning who brings peace and who brings drama, who uplifts your vision and who dims your fire. Emotional boundaries are not cruel. They are clarity. And the clearer you are about who belongs in your mental space, the more powerfully you'll show up for the ones who truly matter. From a philosophical angle, think about the ancient Stoics. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That wasn't just a quote. That was a way of living. Understanding that the inner world must be stronger than the outer world. That you don't control people, outcomes, or opinions, but you do control your focus. And in protecting your focus, you protect your power. Here's something else to remember. Not everything requires a response. Silence is not weakness. Restraint is not fear. Sometimes, the highest form of strength is choosing not to engage, especially when you know that engaging would cost you your peace. Every argument, every reply, every mental back and forth, that's energy. And you only have so much energy in a day. Spend it wisely. Protect it like gold. When you make it a habit to guard your mental space, you start to experience something profound, clarity. You begin to hear yourself again, your true desires, your actual voice, not the noise of what everyone else wants from you. And that's where confidence is born, not from being louder, but from being clearer. So I want to leave you with this. Imagine what your life would look like if your mind was no longer a battlefield, but a sanctuary, a place of peace, power, and purpose. Imagine waking up and not being pulled in 50 directions, not questioning yourself because of something you saw online. Not second, guessing your worth because of someone else's insecurity. That's not just a dream, that's a discipline, a decision you make